Okay, before I start this review, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. Yes, Breakfast at Tiffany's is the film where Mickey Rooney portrayed Mr. Yunioshi, the main character's landlord. His portrayal of this character is regarded as highly controversial and has garnered massive criticism over the years, tarnishing this film's legacy. This is due to the fact that Mickey Rooney, a white man, was playing a Japanese character in a stereotypical and offensive way. Now, I don't condone offensive stereotypes by any means. However, I do believe that many reviews on this film on YouTube and in other places concentrate on this specific character a bit too much, so I will not be addressing this character for the rest of my review. And I have 4 main reasons for this. Number 1, he's a very minor character and he's barely in the film. Number 2, the film is 60 years old. It's very easy to judge old films by today's societal standards. Dreadfully easy. But I think it's very unfair towards the films and the people involved. So I'm not going to do that. Number 3, both Mickey Rooney and the director himself have since expressed their regrets regarding that specific casting choice. And lastly, the main reason why I don't want to talk about this character anymore is just because the film has one unfortunate casting decision, which it is, it doesn't mean it's not worth your time. On the contrary, it's very worth your time. I believe Breakfast at Tiffany's is more than just a great film. It's a necessary one that people need to watch, especially today. So if you plan on actively avoiding this one because you're offended, then I highly recommend that you give it a second thought, because you're missing out on a timeless classic, one whose exploration of themes such as relationships, attachments, and the meaning of true love are breathtaking to behold. So, with that intro out of the way, let's talk about Breakfast at Tiffany's, a 1961 motion picture directed by Blake Edwards and starring the immortal Audrey Hepburn and George Peppard. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on the surface-level aspects of the film, but I will touch upon them briefly right now. The story, at least on the surface, seems very straightforward. Paul Varjak, an aspiring writer, moves to a new apartment building where he meets Holly Golightly, a lovely yet troubled woman with a mysterious past that comes back to haunt her. Struggling for money and looking for their place in the world, both characters start to develop a deep yet complicated relationship. That's pretty much the story in a nutshell, but there are a few twists and turns along the way as major revelations are revealed and initially obscure character motivations are made clearer. As far as the look of the film goes, it's pretty standard classic Hollywood fare. The film is competently shot, the editing attempts to be as unintrusive as possible in order to keep the focus on the story and characters, and the sets are well designed. Special mention goes to Holly's apartment, which keeps going back and forth from being a jumbled mess where everything is misplaced to being the host of lively high society parties. Either way, the apartment serves its purpose as yet another form of characterization for Holly. Now, so far it seems like just another run-of-the-mill classic Hollywood romantic drama. Perhaps slightly better made than usual, but still nothing special. So, what differentiates this one from the rest of the pack? What makes this one worth watching? Well, to put it simply, the relationship between the two main characters serves as one of the most emotional, poignant, and honest explorations of love I've ever seen in any film. Now that's a big statement, and I'm going to back it up, but in order to do so, I'll have to delve deep into the story and the themes, so right now I am issuing a spoiler warning for a 60-year-old film. Love, relationships, and attachments. All three are connected to each other and share a common aspect. They're all potential sources of great pleasure, but also great pain. Being in a loving relationship can be a very liberating experience at its best, but it can also make you feel trapped and miserable at its worst. This dichotomy is explored so well and in many different ways throughout the film. When we first meet Holly, she's being harassed by a suitor of hers.
You You like me, baby. You know you do. Didn't I pick up the check for 5 people? Your friends? I never seen them before. And when you ask for a little change for the powder room, what do I give you? A $50 bill. Now, doesn't that give me some rights?
It's clear that this is a reoccurring phenomenon for her. Rich people keep trying to buy her with money and expensive stuff, and then they feel like they're entitled to her affection. Holly calls these people rats. And if they're particularly troublesome, super rats. She's grown numb to this sort of thing by now. So much so that when she first meets Paul, she automatically dismisses him, unaware that Paul is a genuinely good guy. Yes, we do exist, ladies.
How do I look?
Very good. I must say I'm amazed.
However, they start talking and they soon become friends. Now, just because Paul is a good guy doesn't mean that he's flawless. Nobody is. But after getting to know Holly, becoming her friend, and developing feelings towards her, he wants to love and to be with her for the right reasons. Not for how she looks or the way she makes him look, but for who she is, to take care of her and to make her happy. This is genuine love, as opposed to the superficial love that all these other suitors were offering. But Holly rejects him, and she does so for the wrong reasons. It's not that she doesn't love him, she does, but it doesn't matter. To her, love and attachments are painful shackles that prevent her from being free and must be avoided. Now, the genius behind this film is that Holly is right. Serious relationships can be painful, and they do require a measure of compromise from both individuals in order to work properly. And one could easily interpret compromise as a sacrifice of sorts, or surrender. However, the small detail that Holly is missing is that she is absolutely wrong, and Paul explains it best.
People do fall in love. People do belong to each other, because that's the only chance anybody's got for real happiness. You call yourself a free spirit, a wild thing, and you're terrified somebody's going to stick you in a cage. Well, baby, you're already in that cage. You built it yourself.
Just like a Greek tragedy, Holly's futile attempts to avoid a cruel fate ultimately led her to exactly that. Holly believes that attachments, any attachments, are only limitations that prevent complete freedom. However, the ironic thing is that you need attachments in order to be truly free. Because without meaningful relationships with the people we love, we can't be truly whole. We can't be truly happy. It's true that giving yourself to someone else could and probably would lead to instances of great pain. But the thing is, if it's the right person, it's all worth it at the end, because it's not just bad times. It's also the best times anyone could possibly have. And that's the thing she was missing. We want freedom, sure, but only if it comes hand in hand with happiness. What's the point of being without any obligations, commitments, or duties if you're left completely alone, afraid, and without purpose? Holly spends the film in this limbo, with only brief instances of true happiness occurring when she's with Paul. At the end of the film, she realizes her mistake. She realizes that all she was really looking for was right in front of her eyes the entire time. She realizes that life isn't worth living if you keep pushing the people in it away. And she realizes that in order to truly be happy and free, she needs to surrender herself to her feelings towards Paul. She realizes this in one of the best, most feel-good endings of any film ever. Audrey Hepburn's acting is superb. She sells every single emotion with her facial expressions. It's unbelievable. The way she puts the ring on her finger, shudders, and leaves the cab chasing after Paul, meeting his gaze, both standing in the pouring rain, and finally embracing with a passionate kiss. It's the ultimate happy ending, the classic Hollywood happily ever after. I know, it sounds like the most cliched thing in the world, but I was amazed at how much I resonated with the themes of this film, how much I cared for the characters. It honestly felt refreshing watching a 60-year-old film today. It spoke to me on a level that films of today just don't anymore. We don't get films like this anymore. People are too busy today with activist messages, social issues, broad agendas, groupthink, really big stuff. But where are the heartwarming love stories? Where are the feel-good flicks? I'm telling you, we need more movies like this, especially now in this divisive time. We need movies that celebrate values that everyone can get behind and support, like love, relationships, and attachments. 3 things that come with great pleasure and great pain. But it's the things that make life worth living. Breakfast at Tiffany's is a timeless classic. I was just scratching the surface with this film, honestly. It explores the many facets of love, superficial versus genuine, physical versus emotional, selfish versus selfless, pain versus pleasure, sadness versus joy. And it does all that through an easy-to-digest story filled with endearing characters that leads to a more than satisfying conclusion. This film is definitely worth the watch. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. It's definitely worth your time. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's good to be back. This video is in a slightly different style than my previous ones. Let me know what you think about it. If you like it, then I'll make more videos in this particular style. If you don't, I'll get back to my old style or I'll think of something else. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And also leave a comment letting me know which movies you'd like to see me review in the future. Thank you very much, and have a good one.